Could a backup quarterback battle be brewing in College Park on Saturday? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Northwestern, your daily podcast on the Northwestern Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. This is Locked On Northwestern, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Carter Bird, and thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen for anything and everything Northwestern. We really appreciate it. We are available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. We're also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern, and you can find us wherever you're listening. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, make sure you leave a comment, make sure you give us some feedback. We love to get a review from you, get some feedback on what the show or how the show is going and how we can improve it for sure. But we appreciate you making Locked On Northwestern part of your daily routine. Today's episode is also brought to you by Sweatblock. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try Sweatblock. Save 20% with promo code Locked On at sweatblock.com. Also available on Amazon. All right. So, could we be seeing a backup quarterback battle on the field in College Park on Saturday? And no, I'm not meaning 2 or 3 guys on a team battling it out to see who wins a backup quarterback job. No, I'm saying backup quarterback to this point in the year versus backup quarterback. And I think that there's definitely a situation where this happens. We're going to start by talking about Northwestern, the Northwestern half of this equation. As we all know, we've talked about it on this show before, Ryan Hilinski has started all 6 games for Northwestern to this point in the year, coming off the bye. He started hot, was unbelievable against Nebraska. Comfortable, calm, collected, on target, on time. Really phenomenal with his performance in that game. Better than at any point of his career. And he even won Big Ten Co-Offensive Player of the Week in Week 0. He was 27 of 38, 71% completion percentage, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And then look, he followed that up with a strong performance against Duke. Not as squeaky clean, but still very good. 36 of 60, 60% completion percentage, 435, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But then the inconsistency kind of set in. He was rattled against Southern Illinois, which was extremely puzzling. 27 of 43, 63% completion percentage, 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Then he was okay against Miami of Ohio. 26 of 44, 257 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Had a bad performance at Penn State, which was excusable in the downpour and the rain. Not many. You saw Sean Clifford didn't have a good game either. But he was 15 of 37, 210 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And then, of course, this past game against Wisconsin, he was poor again. 10 of 22, 147 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Could have been a better performance because he almost threw several touchdowns inside the 10-yard line. He had what felt like 7 opportunities to throw a touchdown, and all of them just couldn't be reeled in or were very close and just could not get feet in bounds or a completed catch. Very unlucky in that aspect. But then he also had 2 really, really bad interceptions, just staring guys down, making bad decisions with the football, throwing crucial interceptions that obviously allowed Wisconsin to jump out to significant lead and really kind of run away and hide with that one 2 weeks ago. Well, In the second half, after the second interception, he did take a big shot and went into concussion protocol. Has not been officially, a true update has not really been given to this point. It'll be interesting to see if he starts. I think that there's a chance that he does not. Fitz, I guess, implied that he's taking first team reps, but nothing was clear, and I think that's on purpose. I mean, I don't think Fitz. I think Fitz purposely did not give any clarity. Brendan Sullivan came in relief of him. He was an injection of energy. We know that he's a 3-star dual threat guy. Redshirt freshman, did not play last year. He was 11 of 17, 65% completion percentage, 114 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, had 10 rushes for 33 yards. Well, honestly, was very confident about how he ran the football. Said Wisconsin was not ready for it. And we know he's been taking reps with the first team all year long. Fitz referenced that in his press conference this week. Question is, has that increased? Is he taking 50% of the snaps? Is he taking more than that now? We just don't know. He got in the game a little bit before Hilinski got knocked out. And then once it was his game in the second half after Hilinski had been knocked out of the game, he led Northwestern on the only touchdown drive of the day. He used his legs. He built confidence. Early, he talked about how he looked like a chicken with his head cut off, and Fitz echoed that. And it was, you could see the inexperience was showing. And then as the game progressed, he settled in. He got that first hit, his first hit in 2 years, where somebody had actually gotten to hit him, because as a quarterback, you can't hit the quarterback in practice. And then he started making some plays with his arms, started making some plays with his legs. Kind of was an injection of energy for the offense. Got some things going, marched him down the field. Had one of the best, probably the best throw that we've seen all season long, with a 40-plus yard throw down the sideline to Bryce Kurtz. He couldn't have walked the ball down the field and placed it in Bryce Kurtz's hands better. It was tight coverage. It was a phenomenal throw and a great catch by Bryce Kurtz. And that was the flash of the brilliance that I think Brendan Sullivan can be. Could we see his role increase this week? I think that there's a decent chance that we do, especially with no official update on Ryan Hilinski. Could he start? Maybe. I think he absolutely could. And again, that goes back to that lack of clarity that, again, I think is on purpose. I think it was a lack of clarity to force Maryland to prepare for 2 very different quarterbacks, 2 different skill sets. Even 2 different demeanors. I think that Brendan Sullivan has a little bit of almost like the old guy that's the experienced guy. He knows all the right things to say in Ryan Hilinski, and then you've almost got like the young guy, the young gun, who's really confident in Brendan Sullivan. It's been really funny to watch them interact with the media and just see the difference between the two. It's going to be something that I keep my eye on for sure. I think if I was making the decision, I think I would start Brendan Sullivan. But in just a second, we're going to talk about, could Maryland be starting a backup quarterback too? And how is that going to affect this game? But first, let's talk about our friends at Sweatblock. Look, as a larger person, I've always had some issues with sweating. No one wants to be that person that's pitting in public. And it becomes something you worry about every time you leave the house. Thankfully, I found Sweatblock, and I no longer have that issue. The anxiety surrounding it every time I went out has faded away as well. It's been blocked, if you want to say. Sweatblock was created by a doctor to help with his own excessive sweating. It is doctor created and doctor recommended. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try Sweatblock. Save 20% with promo code LOCKEDON at sweatblock.com. Also available on Amazon. All right. So we know that Northwestern, there's at least a chance that Brendan Sullivan starts or plays a very significant role and might have the reins turned over to him full time in the middle of the game if he doesn't start. What's going on in Maryland, though? Like, why are we having this discussion? Because everybody knows that their starter is Tagovailoa, the younger brother of Tua, and highly rated guy out of high school, was a 4-star in the 2019 class, number 180 player in the country, number 5 pro-style quarterback, and the number 8 player in the state of Alabama. He enrolled at Alabama. He transferred to Maryland after 1 year. He's a third-year starter at Maryland. In 2020, he was 75 of 122, 61.5% completion percentage, 1,011 yards, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. 2021, 328 of 474, 69.2% completion percentage, 3,860 yards, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And then this year, 171 for 236, 72.5% completion percentage, 2,001 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I mean, he's a high completion percentage guy. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten. Well, what's he been like this year? I mean, against Buffalo, he's 24-34, 71% completion percentage, 290, 0 touchdowns and a pick against, which kind of Against Charlotte, he was awesome. 27 of 31, 87% completion percentage, 391 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 rushes, 6 yards, and a touchdown. SMU, 17 of 23, 74% completion percentage, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interception, 13 rushes, 51 yards. Solid game. Then against Michigan, kind of had his second performance. 20 of 30, 66.7% completion percentage, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 4 rushes for 20 yards. Was very solid when he bounced back against Michigan State. He was 32 of 41, 78% completion percentage, 314 yards, a touchdown, 4 rushes, 18 yards. Strong against Purdue, 26 of 38, 68.5% completion percentage, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then was strong again last week. 25 of 39, 64% completion percentage, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So why are we talking about this? Like, why? Like, he's not playing like somebody who's going to get benched. He's not struggling by any stretch. Well, last week, towards the end of the game, he got knocked out with an MCL sprain. He is listed as a game-time decision. If you're asking me, I would assume MCL sprains are pretty painful. And if I would imagine that Maryland's not going to put him out there if he's not remotely close to 100%. There's a lot of stuff going on and with his family, with just health at the quarterback position. And I don't think you're going to see Maryland throw somebody out there who's not fit to play. Well, in that scenario, the guy who came in to replace him last week would be the quarterback. That's Billy Edwards Jr., 3-star guy in the 2021 class, number 1,590 national player in the country, number 104 quarterback, and the number 43 player in Virginia. He enrolled at Wake Forest, spent a year there, then transferred to Maryland, which is where he is now in year 2. So far this season, 9 of 16, 56.3% completion percentage, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 13 rushes, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Last week, in relief of Talia, 0 for 3 passing. Did not complete a pass, so Don't have to worry about yards or touchdowns or interceptions. It was 0 for 3. I guess you do have to worry about interceptions with that stat line, but he did not throw any. But he had 5 rushes for 53 yards and a touchdown. So right there, look, he's a dual threat guy. He's a true dual threat guy. And he probably doesn't have the ability. I mean, just on sample sizes to this point, Brendan Sullivan has shown he's probably a better passer. And Billy Edwards is less experienced. He's been in the system less time. But you could see him on the field. I would probably, if I just had a gut feeling, I would say you're probably going to see him start that game on Saturday. Just because I would assume Maryland proceeds with caution. As a result, I think Billy Edwards, you could see a Billy Edwards versus Brendan Sullivan battle on Saturday. I think it would be wildly entertaining. But in that matchup, who has the advantage? Who has the advantage? And we will talk about that in just a second. But first, let's talk about our friends at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Look, LinkedIn Jobs is something that I have used here recently in my own life as I moved from one position working in the NIL space back into the sports media space, and that's how I've ended up at the radio station that I work at now. But look, when you post a job, you post that role, and then you add the job, then you use the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to hire, who you'd like to interview, all of that good stuff. It's why businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay. So now, here we are talking about this potential battle, backup quarterbacks. But who has the edge? Look, I mean, Billy Edwards Jr. is probably more of a true dual threat guy than Brendan Sullivan. Just going off the sample sizes to this point. And the fact that in his limited playing experience, he's been a really, really effective runner. Billy Edwards Jr. has. And he's probably got a better supporting cast. In terms of skill position out wide, he's probably got better weapons. Although Brendan Sullivan does have Evan Hull, who I would put up with just about any running back in the Big Ten. He does have a strong offensive line as well, anchored by Peter Skoronski. They've been one of the brighter spots of the offense this year. I do think that it is worth talking about time in their program so far. Brendan Sullivan is in year 2 in the Northwestern program with the same playbook. Billy Edwards Jr., 1 year at Wake Forest, transferred to Maryland, and here we are in year 2. They're the same year coming out of high school. 2 guys with similar skill sets. But you have to weigh the fact that Brendan Sullivan has been in his system for an extra year. He's more familiar with the program, with the playbook, with the coaches, with his teammates. I think that is extremely valuable. And it's probably when you have a legitimate toss-up like this, in terms of the true quarterback play battle back and forth. Who is going to outplay the other? I know they're not on the field at the same time, but we talk about it all the time. You have Mahomes versus Josh Allen this past week in the NFL. They're basically viewed as a one-on-one battle in some instances. I know it's not. I know that a team with a quarterback playing worse can win, but when you have a quarterback playing at a higher level, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to win a game. But in a game that is probably a legitimate toss-up at the quarterback position, my gut tends to lean with a guy like Brendan Sullivan ever so slightly. I think you're going to see a bigger playbook with Brendan Sullivan if he's in the game and if Billy Edwards Jr. is in the game because he's been in his system longer. He's had more prep time over the bye, especially with Hilinski at least was limited the first week of practice in some fashion. That means more reps for Brendan Sullivan. He's already gotten plenty of first-team reps this year. That was made clear on Monday by Fitz. And I think that he has a chance to be a shot in the arm for this Northwestern team coming out of the bye. I think it's can be an injection of energy that honestly is needed. Northwestern's 1-5 going into a much tougher back half than front half. As a result, I think you might see a change at quarterback. I think you might see Brendan Sullivan take the first snap of the game on Saturday. And so I think that there's enough excitement around him. There's enough things going in his favor that I believe Brendan Sullivan will slightly outplay Billy Edwards Jr., assuming Billy Edwards and Brendan Sullivan both start this game and both play significant reps. Be something I keep an eye on. It'll be one of the storylines heading into this game, and we will see how it plays out on Saturday. But I do think that we are going to see a true backup quarterback battle on the field in College Park on Saturday. That's probably going to do it for today's episode. Thank you for joining us for Locked On Northwestern. Thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every day for anything and everything Northwestern. We really appreciate it. And we are glad that you look for us to make us part of your daily routine. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. We're also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern and you can find us. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications. Make sure you leave a comment, give us some feedback. We'd love to improve the show. And finally, look, as Big Ten fans, we need to know what our team is up against across the Big Ten with Locked On Big Ten. Every day, host Nate Dickinson and the local experts of Locked On take you across the Big Ten in 30 minutes. Make Locked On Big Ten your second listen. Locked On Big Ten. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for today. Tomorrow, we will be back probably with some sort of Maryland preview. But until then, I'll see you next time.